Let's get into it. Hello, everybody. Let's populate the chat. I'm a few minutes late. I'm also sweating. I was on a walk with my family, so forgive me. It's 80 degrees here today in Nashville, Tennessee. Can you believe that? Let's get to the chat room. We're going to populate. Layered Vision says, hey, Dave, are you going to cover the Russell Brand case? I think I'll discuss it on the rush hour after this. I actually have a Russell Brand story. You know, he's been accused of so many different things and things I don't like to talk about early on in the episode because you get demonetized. But I actually know somebody who had an issue with him that they never reported it because of the place they are in their career. They knew it would be not, this was over 10 years ago. They knew at the time that it wouldn't have been advantageous to them, but yikes. Stephanie said, Dingy is not who I want to wake up to. Did you wake up to Dingy? What happened? Teresa said, Lauren did a quick read of the filing this morning for those who have only 11 minutes. All right, well, let me know where you're checking in from. I'd love to hear from you. Oh, I have the wrong graphic up. That's okay. Look at this. Moving it on the fly. It's a Friday. What do you want from me? You know, so we've gone live, I think, 3 days in a row now. And the motion for Ryan Reynolds to dismiss was a big one. Now we shared what Justin Baldoni had to say about that. Now we're going to have Justin Baldoni's side responding to Blake Lively's motion to dismiss. Bruce said, Dave, Rachel Juarez debated Jingy on Reality Steve's channel. That's right. How did it go, Bruce? I didn't check it out. I'm not going to watch it, but I fully support Steve having that interview. I just, what's the point? It's just going to make you upset. Although I did find out that he was blatantly lying. I guess Laura has a new lie. She claims she never. Actually, I'll show you guys. Well, you know what? We don't have to get into it now. We'll get into it on Patreon. But if you're new to my channel, we covered this case where this lady faked a pregnancy, and we have like a year and a half worth of timestamps of us. We have about a year and a half timestamps of us, and sharing all the evidence and finding it in real time. And now her attorney is trying to pretend like none of it happened. Lindy said Dingus ran his mouth and Rachel barely got a word in. Oh, that's too bad. That's the worst case scenario where he kind of filibusters. Bruce says, I didn't learn anything new. Jingy has opinions and speculation. His main argument is that Rule 26 should give his client a way to get out of the case without fees, even if she had bad faith. Just Jen said he looked dumb. Tea time, just above London, Witterbird. We're ready for tea time. I'm doing iced coffee time, if that's okay with you. Overcast in Arizona. Good to see you. Yeah, all right, so let's just dive right into it. Why don't we? We're at 375 people. Let's get to 500 folks, and we're going to start reading this, okay? What I've got here for ya, and it's a Friday. Maybe there's going to be more people or less people. I really don't know. Although I have to say, I got to give a shout out to my new social media page. Let's see if we can find it here on Instagram, Rush Hour Podcast, The Rush Hour with Dave Neal. We are gaining followers. Again, yesterday's reel with Caitlin Bristow got 38,000 views. Here is the reel from this morning. Have a listen. Late last night, Justin Baldoni to Blake Lively. No way is this over. The First Amendment says so. That's right. Justin Baldoni is responding to Blake Lively's attempt to get out of this. She had her motion to dismiss their hundreds of millions of dollar trials. Now, Justin Baldoni did not file a motion to dismiss. He says, I don't want to dismiss this. I want to prove my innocence in court. And that's kind of been his sort of belief here, is that the public needs to know what happened. So his belief is the public needs to know what happened. And let's get into it. Let's dive on in. It's 45 pages long. As you guys know, we're going to skip through the legal mumbo jumbo, court cases cited, and all of that. So let's just dive right into it, why don't we? Consolidated plaintiffs Wayfair, Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, it ends with us, Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel, and Steve Sarowitz. Collectively, the Wayfair parties. By the way, they should be the real tag team. I don't have my tag team button ready, but I kind of feel like that's the tag team right there.
Tag team back again.
All right, so we have tag team.
Tag team back again.
And we are going to get into what sort of colorful verbiage we have from Justin Baldoni's team, namely Brian Friedman. Insert name here says, have to say I'm so happy to have found Dave Neal. I'm a single mother, was extremely active and healthy, now disabled, autoimmune disease, trying and feeling like I am failing. His compassion. Well, we hope that it gets better for you. And at the very least, I'm happy you found a home here. We got a good community. Let's dive into it. Introduction. The First Amendment complaint, which we're just going to call complaint, contains hundreds of pages rife with factual details about Lively's calculated efforts, first to extort and manipulate the Wayfair parties into ceding total control over the film, and then to defame and scapegoat them when her plan backfired. Nonetheless, Blake Lively refuses to accept responsibility for the trail of untold destruction she left in her wake. But she goes further still. Lively asked this court not only to dismiss the complaint, but also to award her attorney's fees, costs, and treble and punitive damages for the Wayfair party's constitutionally protected act of petitioning the court for redress of their grievances. In essence, Lively asked the court to find that she is immune from any culpability for her wrongful acts. And instead, it is the Wayfair parties who must be punished for daring to exercise their constitutional right to seek a remedy from the court for her lies. The motion must be denied. The complaint specifically alleges abundant facts in support of the Wayfair party's claims against Lively, based both on her own direct actions and on those of her co-conspirators and agents. The Wayfair parties have pleaded allegations against Lively sufficient to defeat dismissal, and Lively's arguments often border on frivolous. In particular, Lively's arguments that California Civil Code 47.1 immunizes her from liability would require the court to determine as a matter of law that she acted alone and without malice, and that she had a reasonable basis for her claims. In other words, to make findings of disputed fact not apparent on the face of the pleadings, which flies in the face of the well-established rules governing motions brought under Rule 12b-6, when the court assumes the truth of the facts set forth in the complaint, as it must in ruling on this motion, the only possible result is a denial of the motion in full. Hey, Luis is here, catching a live. Good to see you there. We appreciate you. Regardless, any technical defects or instances of inartful pleadings in the complaint can be readily cured by amendment, which is freely allowed. And the Wayfair parties are every day obtaining further facts to plead in support of each of the claims against Lively. Furthermore, the Wayfair parties can amend their complaint to more fully incorporate the allegations of Exhibit A into the body of the complaint, mooting the motion to strike. So what they're saying is, if there's any issues, we'll run it through spell check. No big deal, right? And I'm guessing that is to make sure that cases don't just get dismissed over things that are fixable. Finally, even in the extremely unlikely event that the court determines that dismissal without leave to amend is appropriate, Lively is still not entitled to the award of fees, costs, treble damages, and punitive damages that she seeks. The draconian, one-sided sanctions that Lively demands under California Civil Code are, in a matter of first impression, barred by the Noer-Pennington Doctrine, which precludes the imposition of liability for the exercise of rights protected by the Petition Clause of the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. In other words, the Constitution safeguards Americans' right to ask the government to take action, such as by bringing legal claims. The Noer-Pennington Doctrine bars courts from punishing litigants for bringing good faith claims, including through the imposition of harsh penalties like the treble damages award Lively seeks here. Because the Wayfair parties have brought good faith claims against Lively that are neither objectively baseless nor subjectively brought for improper purposes, the First Amendment protects them from being punished for the act of seeking relief from this court. In short, the motion must be denied or at most granted with leave to amend. In no event on this motion or at any stage of this proceeding will the First Amendment permit the extreme and unconstitutional award of fees, costs, and treble punitive damages Lively demands. Legal standard. We don't need to share that. Argument. The complaint states a claim for defamation against Lively. Under California law, defamation is an invasion of the interest in reputation. The tort involves the intentional publication of a statement of fact that is false, unprivileged, and has a natural tendency to injure or which causes special damage. Defamation may consist of either libel or slander. Is defined as a false and unprivileged publication by writing, which exposes any person to hatred, contempt, ridicule, or obloquy. Am I pronouncing that right? I don't think so. Slander is a false and unprivileged publication, orally uttered, where the defamation is clear, without the need for any explanation. It is considered defamation per se, and damages are presumed. In an action for, okay, so then they go into the court ruling there. 652 in the chat. Thank you guys so much. Keep hitting the like button. Oh, dare I say we have 112 likes and no downvotes. That's amazing. We're all on the same page. Close the YouTube. No one else is allowed in. We're all on the same page. All right. Oh, hold on. Just messed up my thing there. 116 likes. Thank you. That helps new people get to the channel, and we appreciate you guys. I have to adjust this. Here we go. Just got to fix that. There it is. Oh, we're looking good today. I'm just out of breath. That's all. I'm out of breath from my walk. The complaint identifies specific and unprivileged defamatory statements. All right, this is what I want to know. I want to know the specific statements that they claim are defamation. Alyssa says, I am sure that such a detailed analysis is not available. I have to, I don't know what's going on there. Is that about something else? Are people talking about the war in Ukraine? Good. Justice for Ukraine. Okay, let's move it on. Where are my Russians at? We like the Russians, just not your government. Just like, oh, we got a downvote. Good. The Russians are here. Very nice. All right. Boris is in the chat. Okay, so then they've got the California law. No big deal. As alleged in the complaint, Lively defamed the Wayfair parties on her own behalf and through her agents, the Sloan parties, and Reynolds, her tag team, as it were.
Tag team back again.
All right. Indeed, the actual smear campaign was orchestrated by Sloan at Lively's direction. At all relevant times, the Sloan parties were engaged by Lively to serve as her public relations rep and manage her dealings with the media. Lively and the Sloan parties stood in an agency relationship with Lively as the principal and the Sloan parties as her agents. At all relevant times, Reynolds, too, was in an agency relationship with Lively, representing her in dealings with William Morris Endeavor and others, and acting as her representative in dealings with Wayfair and Sony. So yeah, what they're saying is even if he wasn't her boss on paper, he was acting as her representative. Yeah. Just reading your comments here. I'll read your super chats as they fly in. Under the principles of agency, Lively is liable for defamation by the Sloan parties and Reynolds. In California, a principal is liable to third parties for acts undertaken. So, okay, all of this, and this is what's crazy, right? The laws are slightly different in every state. They all have federal laws, but then state-specific laws. And proving defamation in one state may be different than another. But these are always the juicy parts, right? These little what we have on the right here. Given the degree of control Lively is alleged to have exercised over the Sloan parties, they clearly stand in an employment relationship under California law. The label placed by the parties on their relationship is not dispositive, and subterfuges are not countenanced. The essential characteristics of an employment relationship is the right to control and direct the activities of the person rendering service. All right, so they're arguing that Ryan Reynolds and Sloan are, that there's a contract happening there, which of course will change their obligations. Otis Andrews says Lively and Reynolds must be held accountable for their actions. No dismissal. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't see a dismissal happening. Can we get to 1,000 people in the chat? We're at 720. It's Friday, baby, and we're gonna tag team this court document.
Tag team.
All right. So if we get to 1,000, I'll play the whole song. No, I can't. As alleged in the complaint, the Sloan parties made a series of defamatory statements about the Wayfair parties within the scope of their employment agency. As to Baldoni, the complaint alleges that the Sloan parties made statements to third parties, including without limitation to the New York Times and other news outlets, to the effect that Baldoni is a predator who assaulted Lively, and that Baldoni retaliated against Lively and others for reporting the alleged misconduct, including by propagating false and misleading narratives about Lively for the purpose of damaging her image and reputation. The Sloan parties also made other false statements in response to media inquiries concerning Lively's wrongful accumulation of power over the production, the means by which she did so, false accusations of misconduct, and the resulting turmoil. Although not in an employment relationship, Reynolds too was acting as Lively's agent when he defamed the Wayfair parties. As alleged on at least 2 occasions, Reynolds stated to executives at WME, Baldoni and Wayfair's talent agency, that Baldoni is a predator. And of course, Ryan Reynolds admits to that. I gotta turn the fan on. It's getting hot. Hold on. Let me turn the fan on here. 1 second. I got so much shit in my room. I got, it's tax season. I got papers everywhere. I don't have any allergies. Did I have allergies before? I don't know. No allergies on my end. I'll tell you what, I'm considering a haircut today. I was supposed to go to the doctor this morning just for a checkup as I approach my 40th birthday. Middle age, but they canceled on me. Those dang doctors, they canceled on me. All right, so let's continue. So, they mentioned, they set up the stage that Ryan Reynolds is an agent here, an agent of chaos. Reynolds knew, as the jury will know, that an accusation of this kind renders the target persona non grata by referring to Baldoni as a predator. Reynolds, and maybe Baldoni could be in the next Predator movie, Jocelyn Herrera says, "Hey Dave, good to see you." Vela says, "Welcome to the 40 Club." Look, I don't feel a day over 39 and a half, I tell you that much. As to the other Wayfair parties, the complaint alleges that Lively and or her agents or co-conspirators made statements to third parties, including the New York Times and other news outlets, to the effect that the Wayfair parties engaged in, permitted, and or failed to prevent inappropriate conduct towards Lively. All right, so they go on and on. For the purpose of this motion, the bottom line is that the complaint alleges that Lively orchestrated, participated in, and directed her agents to carry out a defamation campaign designed to ruin the reputation and careers of the Wayfair parties. Construing the allegations in the complaint as true, there is sufficient evidence that Lively took a responsible part in publishing each of the allegedly defamatory statements by approving or authorizing them prior to publication. Now, of course, we know that because she was the only one who had access to the complaint early on. And, of course, she conspired with the New York Times. Vela says, "I'm 44 and feel 27. Well, I tell you what, when I turn 40, I'm going to be the youngest 40-year-old. I'm going to be, that 40 to 50 range. I will be a young fox out there. I just hope, they say that twice in your lifetime you age rapidly, around your 40s and around your 70s. So I hope that Vela says skincare and good genes is the secret. My secret is using a lot of lighting. Just really get that lighting in your face. Get it in every sort of crease. If you can just carry a ring light with you at all times. Although the Wayfair parties submit that Lively personally approved or authorized the defamatory statements made by the Sloan parties, Lively is liable regardless because she ratified them after the fact. In California, ratification is a well-established doctrine for assigning vicarious liability to a principal for torts, even where those torts are outside of the scope of the agency relationship. God damn, this is boring. It's like, okay, good. Give me the meat and potatoes. I want talk about ratification. Come on, it's Friday. Wow, Copper Mountain says 41 and pregnant with our third. Very nice. Name them Dave. Ratification is a voluntary election by a person to adopt in some manner as her own an act which was purportedly done on her behalf by another person. The effect is to treat the act as if originally authorized by her. A purported agents act may be adopted expressly or it may be adopted by implication based on conduct. All right, so what they're saying is, even if Blake didn't say it, if her people said it, she approved it. Yeah, give us the juice. Cookie Face says, I'm 28 and feel 35. Guess I didn't get good genes or lighting. Yeah, well, you got to, plug it in. Plug that lighting in. Here the Wayfair parties have alleged that and by the way, having a 11-month-old, gosh, I think he peed on me last night. I got pee on my shoe. Just nonstop with a baby, just pee everywhere. But we'll survive, right? God bless him. John the Comic says, try Blake's skincare products and do a live stream on your opinions. That's an interesting. Zillennial says, you're Christian and get squeamish when people say, good damn. Yeah, my parents used to, they said, that's the worst word you can say. Don't take God's name in vain. And honestly, my thought on the matter is, God doesn't care. That's just my thought. But, I'll try to mind my words for you. Wayfair parties have alleged that I just don't think God cares. I think there's bigger problems. I don't think he cares if people say damn and God in the same word. But I hear you. I respect that. I respect your conviction. There is something freeing, though, when you just say it out loud and realize the world keeps spinning. Given that the Sloan parties were Lively's public relations reps and Reynolds, her husband, business partner, and designated representative, it is reasonable to infer, and the complaint alleges, that they were speaking on her behalf. Okay, so we get it. They're speaking on behalf of her. Lively made defamatory statements herself. All right, get into the juice. Share the juice. A super chat from Raja. $10 says, you're the best, Dave. Keep doing what you're doing. Oh, thank you, Roger. Let's pin that super chat. We appreciate ya. Means a bunch. Oh, and by the way, I am going to be going live after this, so why don't I do this? Let's just take a quick second here. When I go live after this, I will be, hold on. I will be live on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal for private live. One of the things that people like about Patreon, I discuss my finances. We've had a hell of a 2025 so far. And when the Business Insider guy, he's trying to write this article about me, but he can't write it without getting the headline. And he keeps on emailing, asking how much money I've made. Because I guess to him, he thinks just because you make money, look, I don't know what the angle of his article is going to be, but it's like he wants to know. And I haven't told him, but I tell the Patreon every day. Patreon sees all of our updates. In fact, we've got all of our taxes we're doing for 2024, which was a hell of a year. Because this guy's arguing, well, now you're making all this money on this case, and I want to be like, actually, we made a ton of money last year covering different stuff. So it doesn't really matter how or where you make your money. It's that you are acting appropriately, by your audience. Like, that's all it comes down to, right? All right, let's dive back into it. So I'll share all of that on Patreon today. If you're looking to get into content creating, I find it inspirational, to be quite honest. Whenever I used to see other people's salaries, I always found it inspirational. I think we're on our 5th year now of making good money, we've been kind of, in the bachelor world, we were settled in on like a multi 6-figure salary. I say salary, but whatever it is. But now things are starting to pick up a little bit, and we're hiring. I hired a social media person to try to get more social media done, because obviously the social media has been kind of really challenging to do it all. I work till like 2 a.m. and then to do social media, it's tough. So I've got a social media person. I'm working on seeing if it works out. Or we're going to do some tests for a few weeks. And 2020 was our first kind of year. And anyway, the point is if you want to see the behind the scenes of how the sausage is made, Dave Neal's sausage, how it's made, you can go to patreon.com/Dave Neal. Lively made defamatory statements herself. Lively made defamatory statements about Wayfair in her individual capacity. Specifically, the complaint alleges that Lively told the New York Times that the Wayfair parties engaged in, permitted, and or failed to prevent sexual misconduct and orchestrated a smear campaign in retaliation for Lively's purported protection disclosure thereof. Lively falsely claimed to the New York Times that the Wayfair party's agreement to the 17-point letter was proof positive that sexual harassment was endemic on the film's set, and that the Wayfair parties had responded to Lively's complaints about purported harassment by plotting to destroy her reputation. The complaint, in short, Lively told the New York Times a false and damning story about an insidious PR sabotage operation deployed as revenge for harassment complaints, with the knowledge and intent that the newspaper would publish the false story. The fabrications made by Lively are further detailed below and exhaustively outlined in the complaint. Hey, thank you to Daniel for the £5 super chat. This is Daniel, Mr. Clever D. We either go gray or bald, so you're doing well. Welcome to the naughty 40s, where naps are better than nights out. Enjoying the coverage. Oh, how nice. Oh, what I would give for a nap right now. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what I want for my birthday. Some peace and quiet. The Wayfair party's defamation claim is timely. All right, so they talk about the timeliness of it, the 17-point presentation. The defamatory statements are not privileged. Lively argues that the Wayfair party's defamation claim fails because the statements at issue are protected by three overlapping privileges: litigation privilege, the so-called sexual harassment privilege, and the fair report privilege. As detailed below, none of those three privileges insulate Lively, not only as a legal matter, but as a factual one as well. So, and then they get into the cases that they're citing. The litigation privilege does not apply. Boring. All right, so they get into the litigation privilege. Yeah, you can go to two lawyers to listen to all of this legal mumbo jumbo. But they get into whether or not she's got the privilege to say what she said, and they're saying, nah, I don't think you do. While such acts as filing a lawsuit and sending a demand letter are protected, communicating with the public or the press is not, even where it advances the litigation by rallying the masses. The litigation privilege does not protect litigating in the press. Such an extension would not serve the purpose of the privilege. All right, so I guess she was arguing that because it went through the press, he can't come after her. And he's saying, well, if you're litigating it through the press, that's not protected. Even though certain pre-litigation activity is protected by the litigation privilege, such protections only apply when litigation is seriously considered. All right, that's not what we came for. The harassment privilege does not apply. So then they argue that she's got this privilege, like they're not allowed to retaliate. And she's saying, what are you talking about? As stated above, that code applies only to communications made without malice. Those requirements that the communication be made without malice and with a reasonable basis in fact are why Lively's arguments fall flat. All right, her arguments are falling flat. Wayfair did not request or require that Lively contribute to the film in any capacity beyond her roles as actor and executive producer. That's so funny. They have to be like, we did not want her help. Although at the beginning of the production, it appeared that Lively and Baldoni would have a positive, collaborative, creative partnership. Lively had other intentions. All right, we're getting juicy. We're getting juicy. In an interview with Forbes in 2022, 3 months before she was cast as Lily, Lively admitted, although not to Wayfair or Sony, that she needs to have authorship in order to feel fulfilled, which producers and directors often perceive as a rug pull because they hired her to be an actress. Yikes. Yikes.
Tag team back again.
All right, they're pulling in the old Sony interview. That's pretty bad. Yeah, I go blurry because I have my manual focus set, so I have to sit right in this exact position. Yeah, the felt's feeling pretty good today. When you focus out of here, we get nice sharp felt. All right, felt it up. As alleged in the complaint, that is exactly what happened on the set of It Ends With Us. We need like a jingle. It ends with us. You know when you watch like a show like Full House or like remember those shows from the 90s? Ding 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 ding. It ends with us. All right. Anyway, like a jingle. Almost immediately, tag team. It ends with us. It ends with us. Almost immediately, Lively began inserting herself into the production process in intrusive ways, well beyond the scope of her contractual entitlements. Lively, she was cooking lunch for everybody. She was doing the set laundry. She really was doing it all. Lively, and by the way, Brian Friedman was going to do my show. He told me he loved my work. So we got to get Brian Friedman on here, power attorney. We've been following him for years. Uncle Brian, we got to get him on. Did you guys know he's my uncle? Did I disclose that? Uncle Brian Friedman. We come from a long lineage of both lawyers and YouTubers. Making that up. It ends with us. Lively's intrusion started with the wardrobe, then extended to rewriting the script, which happens daily, and significantly disrupted the carefully planned production schedule and placed significant stress on the production crew. You know who I like? I like the job of the art decorators who are there to make things look like dirty. There's literally a guy who holds a paintbrush and he just paints things. Like if the wall looks too clean, they'll kind of paint it to dirty it up. Not because it's supposed to look like really dirty, but just because it's more natural looking. Tag team, it ends with Dave. It ends with Dave. Okay, we got it. Tag team, it ends with Dave. But I was kidding. I'm not related to Brian Friedman that I know of, although you never know. But boy, gullible audience here. Although maybe, why not? You know, we both got a strong hairline and we don't lose. I don't know. All right. Although Lively's patterns of domineering interference caused unending interruptions to the production process, leading to entirely unnecessary stress, chaos, and delays. Lively and Baldoni had a somewhat warm relationship during the early period of production. However, production was halted through the summer of 2023 due to the Writers Guild of America and the Screen Actors Guild and Actors Federation of Television and Radio Artists strikes. I bet you didn't know that's what that stood for. The dynamic began to change during the strikes. When I joined SAG and AFTRA, I had to join separately. SAG was $2,600 and AFTRA was $1,600. And when they joined, that means I got screwed. Just a few months prior to her casting as Lily, Lively outlined her modus operandi during the 2022 Forbes Power Women's Summit. It's funny that the thing that could possibly tear her down is being at a Power Women's Summit. That is so ironic. How is the Power Women's Summit? Well, they took away all my power. Turns out I was a little too powerful and I ran out of power. I've got no more juice, no more power. All right, so she talks about how she takes things over, and they even included the link. Let's see if the link works. I don't know if it's going to work. Doesn't work here, but we played the link. During the strike, Baldoni began editing the footage shot in the first phase of production. Lively's involvement took on a more insistent and manipulative tone. Lively began demanding access to the dailies, raw footage. She wants that raw footage, as well as early cuts of scenes. For those in the film industry, such a request by an actor is highly inappropriate and unorthodox because it intrudes on the domain of the director. Yeah, I mean, if you've ever done a photo shoot with somebody, chances are they don't want to give you the raw images because they want you to see the final product. Marnie, that's a one-time payment. That's your initiation payment. And then afterwards, you pay like a small percentage, somewhere in the $200 to $300 range. Yeah, being in SAG's expensive. I haven't paid my dues since the pandemic because I'm not going to pay my dues until I book another gig. After the SAG strike ended on November 9th, Baldoni, Wayfair, and Sony were eager to resume production. That same day, however, by the way, yeah, SAG, I met with SAG to get health insurance for my podcast because as it turns out, you can have... And this is interesting. This is actually pretty interesting. I found out that my podcast could get SAG health insurance. And I was like, that's amazing. I get health insurance through the company. And it's only $300 a quarter. It's super cheap. But here's what I have to do. I'd have to give SAG I'd have to pay dues on half of my revenue. And at the time, my podcast was making around $10,000 to $12,000 a month. And I was thinking, you got to be kidding me. So I would have to pay SAG all of this money. But I would also get retirement through that. And I came to the conclusion that rather than get retirement, it's better that I take all of that money and don't join the union and then just... Because I'm already in the union, SAG. I'm just not in SAG for my podcast, which is new. Like SAG letting podcasts get in the union makes sense because AFTRA was the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Because back in the day, TV and radio, first radio, and TV spawned from radio, of course, but TV and radio were different from film. It was like a completely different medium. It was shot on different, types of, literally film was shot differently, 35 millimeter versus, versus like the aspect ratios were different. It was completely different. So when I found out that I could get my health insurance through SAG, I was like, oh, this is amazing. I can get insurance. I can get retirement set up, and all I have to do. And then when I met with them, they were like, yeah, half of your podcast revenue you would have to pay into like a certain percent. It ended up coming to like costing like $4,000 a month. So I was like, that's insane. Whereas my normal insurance for me, my wife, and my baby is like $1,500 a month, which is also insane. So I was like, it would cost me an extra $3,000 a month to get health insurance through them, but also it would pay into retirement. And I was like, well, what if I just took that extra $3,000 a month and put it into the stock market? And then these tariff issues wiped it all out. But anyway, you get the point. Nobody cares. Just going to give you the tag team starts with Dave. Okay. Or how about rambles with Dave? Tag team rambling with Dave. Okay, yeah. After the SAG strike ended, some people like the behind the scenes stuff. I don't know. Scrubbings and Sud says, I think it looks great. I don't know. What are you talking about that looks great? My tornado season hair. Yeah, it looks like a tornado hit my hair. Yeah. Yeah, as I was talking to them, they actually got off the phone. I asked a bunch of questions, and then the lady got off the phone with me, and I was like, oh, they realized they weren't going to sell this to me. Like, they realized I was making too much money for this to make sense. Like, if I was making, and the other part was, I wouldn't have joined the union until $20,000 was paid in. I was like, get out of here. You're done. We're done. No, thank you. No, thank you. And again, I love unions, but if it's just me, I don't need to have a union for myself. Daphne said, are you going to read the filing ever? Daphne, suck it. This is called cracking an egg to make an omelet. You got to go, Daphne. Get out of here. You chappy chapster. I'll digress when I want to digress. We're talking about my tornado hair. Come on. Read the live. Why don't you go to Popcorn Planet if you want that? I'm just kidding. Oh, Dave was so mean to me. Dave's going on a tangent, mother effer. G-damn. I'm on a G-damn tangent. All right. So, no more being stupid. After the SAG, because trust me, if you want me to read this thing, the last thing you should do is tell me to read this thing. I will sink this ship. Tag team, shut the hell up. Okay. When Wayfair and Sony attempted to revise a document to make it factually accurate. Okay, so she's got this 17-note document, drafting it, insinuating and claiming that Baldoni, Heath, and others engaged in sexually inappropriate filming during the content. After that happened, she said, I'm playing with you. Okay, good, Daphne. We're cool. I'm cool with Daphne. Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry. I'm cool with Daphne. All right. Salty Bird says, Dave, don't read it. Don't tell me what to do. I'm reading it. All right. Well, Daphne's cool with us. Sorry, I can't hear tone. Daphne, I don't hear tone. I don't have tone. I'm tone deaf, really. I don't hear tone. So I will read this thing now that you don't want me to. Wayfair was forced to sign the document as is. So they wanted to revise it. They attempted to make it factually accurate. Lively's counsel responded that the list was not open for negotiation. So Wayfair was forced to sign the document despite the falsity of its insinuations, lest they lose millions of dollars, cost hundreds of people their jobs after they had been out of work for months, and destroy their relationship with Sony. When a hero comes along. So they're heroes, right? They wanted to hire these people. And they wanted to, so they had to take one for the team. My guess is at this point, they were making sure they had everything in writing. Wayfair was forced to sign the document, notwithstanding the insinuations, however, the demands themselves were agreeable. Indeed, some were already in place. Regardless, in the complaint, Lively used the 17-point list to extort the Wayfair parties into giving her editing rights, allowing her to create her own cut of the film, removing Baldoni from all marketing and promotional materials, sponsoring Lively for a PJA mark, which the Wayfair parties characterized as extortion in real time, and excluding Baldoni from the premiere, among other ruthless demands. To the extent Wayfair assented to these demands, they did so staring down the barrel of a gun. In the complaint, the Wayfair parties dismantled, point by point, the insinuations in the 17-point list. And they, you know what, they really did. They really did do that. Hey, Chris Jenner's here. Daisy, good to see you guys. That X-Files music hits, doesn't it? It really does. What if I did it at the same time? Okay. What's this one?
This is gonna be on Dave Neal, by the way. Dave Neal's making a clip of it.
Dave Neal's like a big person in like Bachelor YouTube.
I love me some Dave Neal.
There it is. All your Dave Neal clips. If you say something nice about me, it's going on the soundboard. That's a, I don't care. One nice compliment. We'll save it for life. Because nobody compliments men. Give men more compliments. We're lonely. Somebody go find a stranger and tell him he has nice eyebrows. I'm telling you right now, ladies, if you go outside into the world and give a guy a compliment, he'll never forget it. Now, he'll probably hit on you afterwards. And maybe that's why you don't give guys compliments, because you're like, hey, dude, nice eyebrows. And he's like, you want to get dinner? And you're like, oh, geez, I was just trying to compliment your eyebrows. All right. You want to get tag teamed? All right. Lively falsely claimed that she was forced to be nearly naked during the filming of a birthing scene when in fact she was wearing black briefs, a hospital gown, and a pregnancy suit, and only her legs showed. Lively falsely claimed that the Wayfarers hired a random friend of Baldoni's to play the gynecologist, when in fact the actor is a Shakespearean-trained professional with an MFA in acting from UCLA. Boy, this has to be good for his IMDb star meter, doesn't it? Come on. Real good stuff. Hey, we're over 1,000 people in the chat. And we have 100 likes to every downvote. We have 344 thumbs up and 3 thumbs down, which are probably the Russians, if you have to be honest. Daphne said, Dave, you did make me laugh out loud when you told me to get out. Love it. Love your sense of humor. Love that you don't let people get away with stuff, but in the best way. Oh, Daphne, you're too kind. You're back in. Daphne's back in the fan club. You were in timeout for 4 seconds. Lively falsely claimed she was shown porn. Okay, we got that. Lively falsely claimed that Baldoni harassed her during the filming. Slow dance scene disproven by raw footage with sound that Lively apparently did not realize existed. Lively falsely claimed that Baldoni fat-shamed her when in fact he privately inquired with her personal trainer about her weight to prepare for a lifting scene due to his long history of back problems. Lively falsely claimed that there was no such scene, but the relevant portion of the script is excerpted in the complaint. Lively falsely claimed that Baldoni admitted to committing assault when in fact he disclosed that he had been the victim of assault. The foregoing are representative examples and do not come close to capturing the full scope of Lively's fabrications. Yeah, you show all of that to a jury, I'm sorry. Your case is done. Your case is done. Sheila says, Dave, you have nice eyebrows. Oh, Sheila, thank you. You want to go out? What are we doing? I'll leave my family for you. I'm kidding. The guys would. Guys have left their family for one simple compliment. It's the case. Why did you decide to cheat on your wife and move to another country? Well, because someone said my calf muscles looked nice. I couldn't resist. Yeah, maybe don't give guys compliments. Maybe that's what we've learned. Scrubbing says, again, you can read this for free on Court Listener. Just enjoy the commentary. Oh, yeah, you could come here or not come here. Anika says, Dave, you are boring, LOL. Thank you for that. That was such a pleasant reverse of a compliment. Not only do guys not get compliments, we actually have compliments taken away from us. Okay, well, that's one quick way to take the wind out of my sails. In contrast, the statements of the Sloan parties and Reynolds, which also purport to relate to the experiences of Lively, were not made as the statute requires by the individual. All right, so anyway, the fair reporting privilege does not apply. So she reports this, and she says, you're not allowed to respond because it's, whatever. And they said, no, what are you talking about? So again, we don't need to share any of that. The complaint alleges that Lively acted with actual malice. As a matter, not that fake malice, but actual malice. As a matter of constitutional law, if the person defamed is a public figure, he must prove by clear and convincing evidence that the statement at issue was made with actual malice. Well, of course, it's pretty obvious. There is compelling evidence that Lively fabricated their accusations, was aware they were probably false, or at least entertained serious doubts as to their truth. So yeah, That is tough to prove. Nikki said, Dave is unhinged today. Maybe if guys receive compliments more often, they wouldn't be so weak about receiving one to the point of leaving their family. That's what I'm saying. So, Nikki, what I'm trying to say is men who leave their families do so because their wife didn't compliment them enough. No, I'm kidding, obviously. But there is something to be said about the supply and demand of comments. Nina says, stop being so ADHD. No. You understand, the more you don't want this, the more that's what's happening. I'm drinking cold brew coffee, but it's... Ooh, you want some ASMR? How's this for ADHD? How about a little slurping?
Tag team back again.
Because today's Friday and it's for me, right? Today's for me. All right, turn that down. As to the allegations of harassment, Lively clearly knew they were false at the time. She made them because she was describing her own purported experience. As outlined above and exhaustively detailed in the complaint, Lively was not harassed on the set of the film. She was grossly mischaracterized or outright fabricated the events in question, even in sworn legal documents. Oh, they're claiming she's lying. Lively and her co-conspirators engaged in a coordinated campaign to exaggerate benign interactions in service of a false narrative that Lively had been harassed. They did so to instill terror in the Wayfair parties and leverage it to accumulate power. This accumulation of power depended upon the ability to conjure and exploit ruinous allegations. The allegations were never true, and Lively knew it full well. Lively's insistence she believed her allegations is, in addition to not being properly before the court on this motion, bellied by the allegations in the complaint, the surrounding facts and circumstances, and the evidence already presented by the Wayfair parties. At a minimum, Lively makes factual contentions properly reserved for the jury. 1,088 people. Can we get to 1,100? Let's see if we can do it. Lively, and by the way, that means we have 391 thumbs up, so that means only 1/3 of the active people listening hit the like button. If you hit the like button, more people watch. And then we do more live streams. That's kind of how it works. Lively also knew that the smear campaign narrative was false or acted with reckless disregard for its truth. With her co-conspirators, Lively got hold of communications between the Wayfair parties from Stephanie Jones that disproved the claim that the Wayfair parties had orchestrated a smear campaign. Given that she had these materials, Lively either knew that the narrative she and her agents later publicized was false, or at best disregarded such evidence. It also would have been clear to Lively, a longtime Hollywood fixture and the wife of a marketing company owner, that her negative publicity was precipitated by a series of off-putting public appearances and her puzzling decision to hawk liquor and hair products while promoting a film about TV. I love that they call her husband a Hollywood fixture and the wife of a marketing company owner. Fancy Pants with a $5 super chat said, "We love an unhinged Friday. You're the best." And then she sent me peanuts. And if you're new here, when we get peanuts, we play the Peanuts sound clip. So there it is. Very good stuff. Tag team, suck my nuts. Hey, it's not my song. So anyway, let's continue.
Do you know Dave Neal?
Yeah, of course.
I love
He's amazing.
that man.
He's a king.
There it is. They said it themselves. The fantastical notion that the backlash was caused by an untraceable smear campaign. Here I say no men ever get compliments, and then all I do is play every compliment I've ever received.
Do you know Dave Neal?
Yeah, of course.
I love
He's amazing.
that man.
He's a king.
There it is.
I just took a DNA test.
All right. And I'm 100% narcissist. Finally, while the complaint satisfies the Wayfair parties' pleading burden under an actual malice standard, it's important to note that 6 of the 7 Wayfair parties are not public figures. Okay, so then to get into that argument. The Wayfair parties have adequately pleaded a claim for civil extortion. Sheila says, thumbs up on my way in. Thank you so much for that. Daisy said we should organize meets. I would love to meet some of you. Well, I have a email list, and I would like to get people to sign up for it. That email list will let you know when I'm in town for shows, which I desperately am trying in the coming weeks to get more shows together. 1,100 people in the chat. 430 likes up. Awesome. And only 3 downvotes. Unbelievable. Denise is here.
Do you know Dave Neal?
Yeah, of course.
I love
He's
that
amazing.
man.
He's a king.
King Dave, hear ye, king of the recap. Alternate king of the ADHD. Denise said these documents are much better with you. I would argue the same thing. I would argue these are very boring and redundant documents. I mean, God bless them, but we need to add a little cartoon energy to them just to make sure they're very interesting. Okay, we're losing our mind. So anyway, they argue that the torts and bullshit. Is that a song by Snoop Dogg? Torts and bullshit? They wrote it when they were in law school. Old Snoop Dogg was in law school writing torts and bullshit. The complaint pleads a claim for false light and invasion of privacy. I don't really care about that one. Do you guys? Nah, not really. They're just citing these nerdy things. Jones, some court case, Eisenberg versus Alameda newspapers, snooze fest. To the extent that there are any defects in the Wayfarers parties, they can ready them. They'll make it back up. The complaint adequately pleads tortious interference claims against Lively. The complaint pleads a claim against Lively for tortious interference with Wayfarers and Baldoni's relationship. The preeminent talent agency in Hollywood. The same agency that represents Lively and Reynolds. Accordingly, Lively knows and understands as well as anyone that Wayfarer and Baldoni's relationship with WME were contractual in nature, that their terms consisted of WME procuring film and entertainment projects. So yes, obviously they knew the gloves would come off. And that's not a sexual reference. That's not, oh yeah, are you ready to make this baby? Yeah, I sure am. The gloves coming off. No, it's not that. It is more of a violent reference. Because talent agents are typically paid a percentage of their clients' earnings, it can be inferred from these allegations that WME would fear its own economic harm from attacks on Baldoni and Wayfarer and would be coerced to drop Baldoni and Wayfarer to maintain more profitable relationships. What they're saying is they have no spine. They have no spine. You know, like a lot of people we see in politics, everyone's doing what they can to protect themselves. Who's going to go out on a limb? I tell you what, we live on the limb. We love a limb. We live and love a limb. Alexander says, dang, the haters have way too much time in their hands. Oh, yeah. Hate, that's the whole point of being a hater. You have to have time on your hands. You can't be like, oh, I'm so busy, but I got to go hate on something. No. No one hates on people that are doing worse than them, right? You only hate on people that are doing better than you. I'm not talking about anyone specifically. I'm just saying hating is a river that flows in one direction. You like that?
What? Do you know Dave?
Okay, so anyway, got to go back to my soundboard. What's this?
It is full of garbage. Garbage.
There it is.
Garbage. Your audio sucks.
Lively's own subsequent statements to WME demanding that Wayfarer put out a statement accepting blame for the problems during filming with an express threat that they themselves would attack Wayfarer in the press if Wayfarer refused are reasonably understood as a ratification of Reynolds' prior statements and demands and an explicit acknowledgement that Lively and Reynolds were committed to acting in tandem. Yeah, look, when it comes down to it, this is a reminder to everybody, never admit you did something wrong that will then be used against you if you didn't do something wrong. I think that's really what it comes down to. All right, so then they claim interference of contracts, because obviously they got them dropped from WME. Lively is liable for her direct actions as well as by conspiracy. The Wayfarer parties have brought a standalone claim for civil conspiracy. Conspiracy is instead a legal theory by which parties may be jointly liable for an underlying wrong. All right, and I guess... see if there's anything juicy in here. Anything juicy in here? Lively may be under a duty not to recklessly damage the film's director, lead actor, and studio in the eyes of the public or their talent agency. Yeah, so there's so many laws at play here that keep you from sinking the ship, as it were. Lively is not entitled to damages for fees. Okay, good to know. Finally, awarding to Lively damages would violate the U.S. Constitution, because imposing treble damages on unsuccessful defamation plaintiffs would impermissibly burden the exercise of rights protected by the petition clause. Gosh, no wonder you got to be smart to be a judge. You got to go through all of this stuff. That's ridiculous. We used to think the judge would just go, this, that. No, they got a lot of work to do. There's case laws and bullshit. They got torts and bullshit. There's a lot going on here. Yeah, when you have haters, you are crushing it. When you have TikTok channels created, by the way, speaking of which, as we wrap this thing up, my TikTok, hold on. Hold on. How do I get here? My TikTok. Hold on. Same page. Why? You got to do this stupid thing to use TikTok here. My TikTok right here. Let's go to is D Niels. This is it. Some people think the fake TikTok is me. This is me. Oh, let's get up to 6,500 followers. So I've got my social media person helping me out. We're posting all the things, doing it, making it look good. But I'm going to share with you Dave Neal show. This is the fake one. Maybe it's taken down by now. They might have finally taken it down. Nope, it's still there. Look at that. The fake me has 10,000 followers. That's crazy. So that's fake me, Dave.Neal show. Real me is the same across all my platforms, D Niels. That's it. D Niels. So follow me. Be friends with me over there. And also on Instagram, I'm just letting you guys know because a lot of people don't know this, but on Instagram, I've got D Niels, but I've also got the Rush Hour with Dave Neal. So this is where you can go and talk, and I'll share all of the clips. You go, Dave, you're too wordy. I want a 40-second version. Well, okay, I got it right here, the Rush Hour with Dave Neal. So that's where that is. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anything here. All right, so anyway, I think the next step for growth is getting these social medias off the ground. So anyway, that's where you can go follow me or also on Instagram at DNeils. Okie dokie, let's wrap this puppy up before we take the gloves off. Conclusion, the Wafer parties respectfully urge that the court deny the motion in its entirety. In the alternative, the Wafer parties respectfully request leave to amend their complaint. All right, so there it is. They signed it. Signed, the powerful attorney, Uncle Brian Friedman. So there it is. Coming up next, we're going live on Patreon, literally in 2 minutes. I leave here and I go live on Patreon. Private membership community, that's where people hang out, continue the conversation. It's like the after party. After the party's the after party. After the party, it's patreon.com/Dave Neal. So that's where we'll be. Let's just respond to any scooper chats we might have. Do we have any new super chats? We had 3 today. I appreciate all 3 of them. Thank you guys so much. I think we went live 3 days in a row this week, so hey, that's pretty good.
The blood is on your hand.
Wrong one. Inlight says, why does YouTube take so long to take down imposters? Well, that's TikTok. Fake Dave needs to be taken down. Double check your following D Niels. But anyhow, that's where it's at. And what else was I going to say? Yeah, if we get any... Today's Friday. If we get any late responses, because there's a lot of court documents coming in, I'll go live either tonight or tomorrow. I've also got my conversation with an octopus expert going live tomorrow. You're going to like it. Everyone needs to know about these octopus. And back to Patreon. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for all of your love and support, even those that were kind of rude. I know you meant well. The problem's you, not me. Whenever I beef with someone online, it's like, you're the problem. And I'm letting you know. I'm shining a mirror up to you. You're the problem. Lexi just followed my real TikTok. Wow. Oh my gosh, we got Lexi. Hold on. Let's find it.
Hi, thank you for the comment. And you're referring to the video in which I alleged that Justin Baldoni...
Do we have anything new here? Hold on. I'm trying to get Chris here, Reputation 911 on the pod, but I think he's not allowed to do the pod because whatever company he works at. Anyway, we'll have more of this. I'll be acquiring news stories. Brian Friedman made a statement. I'm going to be covering that statement on the afternoon rush. So we'll do that. Love you guys. Happy Friday. And on this afternoon podcast, we'll tell our bosses to go F themselves. But I won't do it yet. We'll save it for the afternoon. But chances are you have a boss and they need to go F themselves. So maybe you work for yourself still. Hold yourself accountable and tell yourself to go F off. Look yourself in the mirror and say, fuck you. That's what you got to do. All right. The baby eagles are alive. They're boring. We stopped covering them. I don't like birds, right? Birds are weird. Bye, guys. I'll see you later. Off to the Patreon.